Anyone who has eaten the devil fruit apparently has to yell out the type of devil fruit that they have eaten,
That's
followed
incredible.
by put verb here or
Mhm.
whatever.
So good.
But yeah, there's been some fun, interesting, dumb moments in this thing. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I can see why everyone hangs on for 1,000 episodes.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that
Oh.
they really shouldn't.
Yeah, probably not.
I mean, whatever.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, man. All right, did I share show notes with you guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I think you shared them before you'd actually started them.
Well,
Yeah, because I opened them up and I'm like, oh, cool.
Got a little bit of a late start today.
Yeah, whatever.
Probably not going to do questions this week, since I'm assuming our first section is going to be lengthy.
Probably that would be appreciated because the shorter the show, the better today for me personally.
Well,
just on
yeah.
I've got
health
at least
standing.
one game
Yeah.
that I am not going to talk about this week because it's going to get really in depth really quickly.
I have 8 games.
I have 4.
Mo-
I could technically have like 9, but I
Yeah.
have 4. I only really want to talk about 2 of them.
And Moon, if you need to just kind of dip out because you're not feeling well, like, please feel free. I don't want you to stay here and suffer when you could be laying down and sleeping.
No, you mute your mic and you fall asleep at your chair, and
That's
we will
right.
tell you when you were done.
Put the content on.
Don't mind me while I just
Yeah, there-
put my hood up
just-
right here.
Me. Yeah, there you go.
Don't make me open the door and get Louise in here because she hasn't left me alone in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, I bet. All right, are you guys ready to start this thing? Hello, Faeror.
Yes, I am.
Sure, why not?
All right. Hem. Let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of That Video Game Podcast.
There
Podcast.
we go.
Talking about Pat time.
There we
That's
go.
us. We got it. Take 2.
We're back.
Starting in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of That Video Game Podcast, aka TVGP. I'm your host, Boston Dream. As always, is Moonpier.
You still almost messed her up the second time, dude.
I really did. Second time's a charm. And the nymph.
Hello.
We're back. Thank you for hanging out with us. Apologies for last week's episode. Too many of us were sick. 2/3 TVGP, but this time we were sick. So appreciate everybody being so cool about it. We are back here from our podcast vacation, but let's talk about patreon.com/E1M1.
The ones and numbers, I don't know. There you go.
The
best you're getting this week.
That's right. But the best we have is over there on the Patreon. Not really. It's just a bunch. It's a bunch of really great extra stuff, including the Outcast, talking about all the cool other stuff that's going on in our lives. Talked a lot about like a fever dream wiki holes this week. If you haven't listened to the Outcast, if you have listened to Outcast, you can probably guess where that's going. If you haven't, go sign up there. $5 a month is a recommended tier. Fun for a $5. Get all the cool stuff over there. You also get $5 exclusive, The Wayward Sons, which is the supernatural TV show watchcast that Moon and Nimp are going through, watching all, just like 10 episodes of that show. Check that out over there. That is a Patreon exclusive. You also get early access to We Roguelike It, where Moon and I are playing as many roguelikes as we can. We got a brand new game starting up here. Just did a quick announcement episode that's coming out this week. And Critical Misses. We're picking up catching up all the media hits we missed. We're going through season 26 right now. You can get in on that right now. Patreon.com/E1M1.
The ones, the numbers, crunch.
All right, Moon, what have you been playing these last couple of weeks?
Oh boy. Where do I even start? Okay, I'll end with that one. So my holiday started really well with I'm gonna get through Starfield in this 2-week time frame.
Oh, yeah.
That didn't happen. I got further in Starfield. I wouldn't say I got completed it. In fact, I 100% would not say that. There's still achievements to get.
Mhm.
I did wrap up the Crimson Fleet storyline, so I got all of that completely done and dusted and out of the way. It was interesting because I spent a lot of time doing like side quests for the fleet and all this kind of stuff to build relationships with them. The only one I felt bad about was the ship tech lady. Don't know her name. That's how bad I felt about her.
I didn't feel bad about any of them.
Yeah.
No.
It kind of got to a point in that mission where it was like, I am here to help you guys, but you are all consistently just talking down to me, and if there's an airlock here, I will open it.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, he fell out of an airlock. It was so weird. Anyways.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I like the ship tech lady out of all of them, because she was the one who was the least snooty about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Everyone else can go die in a fire, and they did.
Hey-o.
I did start the Ryujin Industries mission.
Yeah. Yep.
Which nobody pointed out to me that the very first mission was a double pun.
Well, I don't remember what it's called.
The very first mission is called Back to the Grind, and it's to go and get an interview at the office. And then as soon as you get accepted for the job, the first thing they tell you to do is to go get coffee.
That's right. Yep. It's a pretty good one.
Literally, it's a double pun, and I was like, okay. It's a terrible, terrible mission. Terrible people, terrible everything, but quality mission naming on the writing side of things. Let's see. I built my ship at last that I wanted to build.
Ooh. Okay.
It's big. It's a big boy.
Him big.
A very, very big boy. With lots of guns and lots of everything, and it's a C-class ship. So, which is the best, I think. I think C is the best. So in order to fly it, I needed my piloting skill at level 4 to create it, and I did my creation skills at level 4 and my engineering skills at level 4. There's a lot of useless skill points being used basically to create this ship.
Yep.
So I made it. I made it all. I got it all finalized. It's got like big old storage compartments. It's even got like a little stealth storage so I can smuggle stuff if I feel like it. And then as I was landing on one of the bays, I realized it. No. No, I realized it looks like Thunderbird 2. Because I painted it green. Because of course I painted it green.
That's great.
And for those of you who don't know, you should definitely go Google Thunderbird 2 because it looks exactly like Thunderbird 2. I was like, if there was a way to build smaller ships like in Elite Dangerous where you can get like the RVs that come out the bottom of it, I would 100% call this Thunderbird 2 because it just looks, unfortunately, so much like it. It is unreal. I was like, well, I guess I'm using Thunderbird 2 for the rest of my time playing this game because it's the only thing that's going to matter after I spent like 60 hours building this ship and getting all of the appropriate skill points needed to build the ship.
Right.
Not to mention flying around to different locations trying to understand how this stupid ship builder works. It's not great, we'll say.
No, without a mouse and keyboard, like it's functional, but it's one of those where it's like, boy, if I could just drag these pieces around with a mouse, I would be moving about 20 times faster.
So just simply moving to different planes was a huge pain in that thing.
Yep.
It's like building a gummy ship in Kingdom Hearts.
100%.
Not fun at all. But I have the shape I wanted, which is big. It has lots of guns, and it has turreted guns, which means I don't even have to aim. It's great. I just like hit A, hold the trigger, and it'll shoot everywhere. So I'm fine with that.
Just take all the guesswork out of space battles.
That's right.
100%, dude. I don't want to calculate firing lines. I want to go to sleep. And then I was like, cool, I finally did that. Now it's time to really crack in at this story and stop playing it.
The Starfield experience.
Yeah.
Yes. Me and Bethesda games experience, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah.
Except for Skyrim. That was the one that didn't do that with me. Let's see. Then I moved on to Lies of Pi.
Really?
Yes. Because it's on Game Pass and I felt like I should play something different. I was like, I'm going to use this vacation to play a bunch of Lies of Pi. No, I'm not. I'm going to work 80 hours instead. I wish I was lying, but I'm not. So I started Lies of Pi. I enjoy Lies of Pi. I got so far as the very first quote unquote big boss, the first time you're able to summon, essentially.
Okay.
Is
that the electricity one from City Hall?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes, that one. So I already did
if anyone hasn't heard of Lies of P before, this is the Pinocchio-based Soulsborne, which turns out to be way better than expected.
It's really good.
Yep. The loading screen is a Pinocchio nose, so embrace that while you can. I don't know. It's I mean, it's been fine so far. I've been experimenting with every single different weapon I've had so far. As soon as I got the lightning mace thing, it sure seemed to make my progress a lot faster. Until I hit that boss. And then when I hit that boss, it's like, well, electric doesn't do nothing because he's made of electricity.
Yeah, it's immune.
Fun.
I think at that point too, you should be able to find. Trying to remember, I think you can get the salamander dagger, or maybe it's after that boss. But I think there is a second elemental weapon that you can find before that boss.
Probably. I'm doing as much exploring as I can, but not like going insane. I do like the fact that the crystal lizards are butterflies, which is just like, of course.
Oh, nice.
And they're always in bad locations.
Yeah.
I did run into the first of the hunters with the horses' heads. I'm like, okay, sure.
Oh yeah, the donkey one?
Yes. The crazy donkey guy with the cloud sword.
Yes.
Want to be Final Fantasy star. I mean, the game is gorgeous. Like, it's genuinely a gorgeous game. It's definitely worth your time, I think, to give it a shot. I need to get back to it sooner rather than later so I don't forget how to play and what the timings of the thing are, because that's one of the scariest things about Souls-likes.
Yep.
And, of course, I couldn't play a game for 2 weeks, so always fun to run into that problem.
Go hang out in the training room in the hotel. There's a dummy, the one on the left.
It does the attacks,
that puppet, yeah, and that one will help a lot. So...
but no, like Lies of Pi is fun. Lies of P, I should say. It's been fun to play so far. The controls are solid. Like, the game looks and runs smooth as silk on the Xbox Series X, which is fantastic. I will let you know if and when I get further into it, if I'm completely honest. Let's see. So we can talk about my biggest mistake of the vacation break.
Oh, okay.
So Dreamlight. No, I played Dreamlight Valley instead. So just as bad.
Played a little bit of that too, because the multiplayer update came out.
It's exactly why I did.
Yeah.
You know what? You should really not. Don't bother.
Is it just bad or?
So I'm assuming you don't know. Boston, do you know?
I do not.
I haven't played Dreamlight Valley in a while, and the amount of stuff this game dumped on me, Destiny style, was a lot. And a lot of like, there's a lot of conflicting information of like, oh yeah, to play multiplayer, just pick the multiplayer thing. But another menu is like, don't you dare even think about multiplayer until you've unlocked at least
multiplayer device.
This multiplayer device, which you have to finish 4 or 5 quest lines on. You have to do this, and I bought the DLC, so I unlocked the additional island, that brand new like Jafar's Island thing, and that whole thing is just like, oh man, buckle up, buddy. We got a bunch of stuff over here. And it's like, oh god, okay.
So your mistake was probably buying the DLC.
Yeah.
So I learned about the multiplayer mode. I was like, cool, I'm just going to hammer away at this thing for like a week. Get the multiplayer mode unlocked so I can shut some people up. And I did that. And I got all the way to the point where I had the multiplayer all unlocked and everything. Like, cool, now it's time to do it, but not today because it's late. Let's do it tomorrow instead. And then I was woken up early the next day to do it.
It's Dreamlight Valley time, woo!
Yeah, pretty much. And the grand sum of things you can do in multiplayer in this game right now is nothing.
Yeah, it's not a lot. I feel like I didn't have grand expectations. You know, when you look at Stardew Valley, you do pretty much everything co-op. Like you can run your farm together. You can do everything together. And it seems like the number of things you can do in this is pretty slim.
It's literally okay. So the things you can do in multiplayer, whether you're visiting someone else's world or they are visiting yours, you cannot go indoors without them.
Okay.
You cannot do quests. You cannot give gifts to people. You cannot talk to the residents of the village. You cannot mine. You cannot water flowers. You cannot plant things.
Can't even help them plant and water.
So you just get to walk around and look.
You literally get to walk around and look. The only thing you can do is you can do the scavenging stuff. So like the flowers on the floor, you can pick them up.
Okay.
You can do the digging sections, but if it involves a tool, you cannot do it. Not at all.
And that's such a bummer because half of the appeal of a game like this is I'm just getting started in my valley. You have been playing for the last 6 months super hardcore. It feels great to go into somebody's valley and just say hello, it's me. I have $60 billion and 400 seeds of everything you possibly... Here's just a care package of everything you will ever need.
Yeah.
Or even helping them take those steps.
Yeah, even if you can't do items, at least helping them build or move stuff around or something.
At least
be able to participate in a quest.
Yeah.
So that's the thing is you could drop things for them. So if you have them in your inventory, you can take them to their island and then drop them on the floor for them.
Okay.
But that's it. You can't help them plant stuff. You can't help them do quests. You can't help them evolve or clean up the village because as soon as it involves using a tool, you just can't do it. And if you go into a building, it pulls them with you. It's oh, you want to go inside? You have to bring them with you. They're not allowed outside without you here.
It's so hard because technically I understand because it's a really complicated problem to solve. But with these level of limitations, why? Why are you even...
From my understanding, Animal Crossing has this same thing where you can turn on basically safety mode that prevents people from messing up your island, and then you can pick and choose what people can participate on your island. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
So it's not like they're It's not like this is some brand new thing that we've never seen before.
Well, and to be fair, part of Dreamlight Valley that the developers are continuing to kind of lean into is the decoration and the style aspect of it. So there's definitely something to be said of like visiting your friend's valley and kind of looking at all the cool stuff they set up and the design and all the stuff they've earned and decorated and everything. But that's not an everyday thing. That's not a
nope.
You know, come to my valley again and take a look around. It's like, yeah, I did that yesterday, man. I'm cool.
Yeah.
Yep. Apparently there's also like an item which only spawns while somebody is in your valley, and didn't see it once. So
interesting.
Cool.
Go away, I guess, is my thing for Dreamlight Valley.
What a weird game Dreamlight Valley is. A great, weird, odd thing.
I was so annoyed because I was so looking forward to both helping and being helped of like, yep, this is my achievement. I need to work out next. Help. Thank you. Goodbye.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boston, you said you got the DLC. How much is that?
So it's $30.
Oh, wow.
But I'm not up on Dreamlight Valley's DLC plans, so I'm not entirely sure if it's $30 is just for this island or if it's $30 for a DLC pack, because they're talking about releasing a couple of things, I think, over the course of 2024. So I'm not entirely sure if that contains all of it or if it's just this island. If it is just the island, it's pretty expensive, but it seems like there's a lot of stuff in there. I think there's like 3 or 4 characters. It's a whole different landmass, and there is a bunch of new tools that you can use to automatically water and farm and do some other automatic stuff too. So there's a bunch of stuff that it seems like you can use on that island and in your valley to kind of automate some stuff, but I'm nowhere near the point where I would be able to use that stuff, so I don't know how good or useful they really are.
Okay.
Yeah. But $30 is kind of, I bought it largely because I was like, well, I'll get feature parity with what my wife has, and that way we'll be able to help each other with multiplayer, and then whoops.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mistakes were made, one might say.
Yeah. I mean, I got some PlayStation Stars for it, so I'll take that. Turn that into another gift card. Yep.
I got an email saying, "Hey, we're gonna keep your whatever your level is
until like 2025. We'll keep your level."
Yeah.
I was like, "Man, I will earn that level back pretty quickly. You don't need to worry about me."
I think that's why they just keep giving us the level, because they're like, you're gonna hit that pretty quick. But
yeah,
I never think about that thing until it hits me up on my phone. But anyway.
Yeah.
Well, now Microsoft is sending me notifications anytime I buy, purchase, or redeem anything on the Xbox. It's like, you have spent enough points to redeem a gift code. And it's like, cool. Stop telling me I have my Quest set as a $50 gift code. Don't tell me I've redeemed enough for a $25 gift code.
Oh, sure. Right.
Yeah.
Like, read my Quest and be done with it. Like, just leave me alone.
I'm saving up for the big boy. Leave me alone.
100%. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not going to redeem bits and pieces. I'm going to get the big boy and then buy whatever I want from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got like Xbox credit, and then for Christmas, and then I'm pretty sure I bought like 96 new games.
Nice.
New to me games, I should say.
That's right. That's right.
Whatever.
Because
could have been new to you, or it could have just been 2023's game list. Whatever.
Because there was an absolute buttload of stuff on sale, and I was like, I could do with that.
Holiday sales were good this year.
Yeah,
they really were. And TA doesn't help by saying, "Hey, this is the lowest it's ever been on sale," and then give me a list.
That's how they get me.
I've played like 5 other games, but we might as well close out on my side at least with one last game this week, which is Lethal Company. Yeah, Lethal Company is incredible. I played this Friday, not last Friday, the Friday before. Maybe I did the last Friday. I don't know. It seems to be my go-to Friday game now, is what I'm saying. I really enjoy this game probably too much. It's just so charming, and it never feels the same, if that makes sense. Like, it's not like I'm jumping into, like, Destiny is a good example. It's not like I'm jumping into Destiny and doing the same strike for the 50th time.
Right.
So yeah, I might be on the same moon for the 50th time or doing the same level for the 50th time. But it's the beauty of a roguelike where it's randomly generated and I don't know what I'm going to run into. I might end up opening the base and having a level absolutely full of turrets, which we did have, which was not fun, let me tell you. That was a little bit scary. But I don't know, man. Like, there's just something about it. We started a couple of weeks ago. We started getting enough money to get to the first of the harder quote unquote moons. It's the one that has the mansion-looking layout. It looks like the Resident Evil mansion when you open the door. It's not the factory.
Truly
and
cursed.
Yes, and that finally has the hidden monsters that I knew about but never seen before. There was a great moment. I think it was 2 weeks ago. We were there. We had the incident with the masks, which now we know about the masks. I think I've talked about them on the show before. Which is, it's not great when they're just literally in the level as well, by the way.
Surely nothing can go wrong with something I can pick up to sell.
But when, like, the people are in the level, like, no one's even being killed and they just show up in the level anyway.
Right.
That's the scary part.
Yeah.
But I ran into the little girl for the first time, which is
oh man.
I'm sitting there playing with everybody. And I've got one of each of those masks in my inventory. And I literally said to everybody, like, what the hell is that laughing? Like, who is laughing?
Right.
Like, why am I hearing like a creepy little girl laugh?
Which one of you chuckle bugs is just giggling over there?
Yeah. And everyone's like, oh, it's just the masks. It's just the masks. Don't worry. It's just the masks. They just laugh in your inventory to kind of freak you out. And
don't worry.
Well, it's succeeding.
You're just totally cursed. No worries.
Yeah. It's 100% succeeding, and that's fine.
Yep.
So then I walk around this corridor, and I'm looking. Everyone is, like, to my right, and I walk around this corner first, and I look down this long corridor. And then, clear as day, there's a creepy little girl sitting at the end of the corridor.
Great.
At which point I say to everybody, I was like, guys, can you just look down this corridor for me? Do you see that creepy little girl right at the bottom of the corridor? And everyone's like, no, it's just the masks. It's just the masks.
It's just a ghost. No big deal.
Yeah, you're fine. Whatever. At which point I noped out of there so quickly and straight to the spaceship.
Good call.
And I was like, no, my inventory's almost full. I've got a creepy little girl that nobody else can see. I'm done. I'm 100% done. I'm going back to the ship.
I've seen these movies before. I'm getting out of here. I'll see you all later.
I've played Dead Space. I know how this goes.
That's right.
Exactly. So then I get onto the ship, and we call it a night shortly after that. And because I have a habit now of just recording it whenever we play for the memes, I got up to that point in the video, took a photo of my screen, and sent it to Rob, friend of the show, Rob. I was like, I told you I wasn't crazy.
That's right. She's right there.
The general reaction was, oh crap, lol. What is that? Like, yeah, exactly. Thank you. This is what I was talking about when I was saying that. I was being haunted by a girl and you all didn't believe me.
That's right.
And then, yeah, we played with Boston this week.
Sure did.
How did you find it, Boston, as your first time being part of the Lethal Company team?
So I watch a lot of Lethal Company because my favorite YouTuber, Northern Lion, has been playing it with his crew for a couple of weeks. So I kind of know the gist of the game. I think we played for like a little over an hour, maybe almost an hour and a half, maybe.
Yeah, roughly.
And it's really easy to see pretty immediately how you can just play this for a good long time and not realize it, because the loop of the game is short enough and tense enough that it feels great. Like, you land your ship, you go into the building, you try and gather as much stuff as you can before everybody gets horrifically murdered. You get back to the ship and you take off for another planet. And the ratcheting of the tension, because it feels like the longer you're in a building, the more stuff spawns. So there's this ratcheting of tension of like, oh, we got to keep diving further and further into these buildings to try and meet the quota. But that's where the bad stuff is. And then having that release valve letting the pressure off when you're back on the ship and kind of like goofing off and dancing, and then going back down in and having that stress, like that loop feels really great. And just being able to, like, you know, it's a game of remember when. It's like, remember when Rob and I were in one area, and then I could barely hear him say, hey, there's a Bracken, and then he's dead somehow. And I was like, well, the Bracken probably got him. I'm probably pretty safe. I turn the corner and then my neck gets snapped because there was the Bracken. Like, it's a game
and then
of...
from there, it's like me running around, like, Ash was at the ship, I think, and it was me walking into where I knew you two were.
Yep.
And just quietly calling into the darkness, Rob, Austin,
anyone alive?
Are you still alive?
And then
finding a trail of blood leading to a flashlight and a walkie-talkie on the floor.
It's like watching you, because it does the thing that I think Among Us sort of unofficially did with Discord, but having the lobby of dead people spectating the alive people is really, really great. So Rob and I are like, he's right there. He's right there with the Bracken. He's going to find the Bracken. All you find is this like room-long blood stain and then just a lit flashlight and a radio that's off. And I was like, that's me. That's my blood stain. He found it. And then on like the very next map, I throw myself off of the edge of the ship.
I was going to bring this one up.
Immediately into quicksand. Like literally 10 seconds into when we're playing. So I get to watch all of them be like, all right, there's 3 of us at the wait, why is there only 3 of us at the door? And Moon coming
Where's
back.
Boston?
Boston? What, are you alive? And the like slow dawning realization of like, oh, I think he...
Yeah, when I got to the cameras and the cameras are like still on the ship for your character. And I'm like, he died right at the ship? And then I look over the back fence and it's like, oh, it's quicksand. He just jumped straight off the back of the ship, straight into the quicksand.
No idea what quicksand looked like.
Dying.
But now I do. Because you guys were running away and I was like, quick, I got the blah, 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 blah. All right.
Yep.
That's me. But like, it's so easy to see immediately why this has caught the attention of everyone. Number one, it's $10. Number two, anything can run this game. And I think most importantly, like, it's just fun getting scared with your friends.
Is so good. Like, the sound design is like, so helpful in that.
And like, we have this moment
because you'll just hear like a
right, and you're like,
okay, what was that?
Is that me? Is that a Steam? Like, we had, I had one clutch moment where Moon was like, "Hey, I have a yield sign. There's probably going to be a bug here. If it jumps on my head, pick up the yield sign, smack it a bunch of times, and get it off my head." And I was like, sounds good. I can remember to do all that. We're wandering together. The other 2 are off somewhere else. And then all of a sudden I was like, that sounds sort of quiet. and I hear Moon's muffled voice, because when the bug is on your face, it muffles your voice. So it's just like, and I was like, oh boy, this sure. Wait, the yield sign. So I sprint over there and I just bash this thing off of Moon's face and actually managed to save him. And then
it was a good job.
We were able to successfully get out of there with all people alive, and it's just like, it's
gonna say you saved them for the next terror around the corner.
That's right, yeah. And then I bashed his head in myself. But like, it's really interesting to see how much you can do with so little. Like, every building except for the mansion looks the same. It's all made out of the same kind of Lego pieced together pieces parts. Like the patch that just came out has diagonal hallways now.
I almost swore, because I absolutely hate those new hallways.
They're pretty stressful.
It used to be NIMP. It used to be straight lines. So straight line, this is a cross section. Now you're in like an L section, and this is a cross section. Now they've added 45-degree angles to like the corridors. So you'll go into a corridor and then it just bends. So you can't see what's around the corner. You can't see what's further away. You have to actually stick your head out and see it.
Yep. And it
so
really,
much worse.
It really is like a game full of moments. It really is that kind of like that like water cooler thing of like, oh man, do you remember when we did this thing? Oh, do you remember what happened that time? And like, it's really great. Lethal Company is really cool, and I love seeing games like this where it's a single developer doing a lot with a little and just hitting at the right time, and then just supporting the hell out of it. Like, I love looking at the Steam page of like, yeah, it's feature complete, but I need you guys to tell me if it's too hard or too easy or whatever, and then I'm just going to keep adding stuff to it. And we're on patch 48 at this point, I think. Like,
I think so, yes.
It's just dumping a ton of stuff. Lethal Company it's one of those few games that when you play it after you hear a million people talking about it, it is as good as they say it is, which is pretty rare.
Like, it's shocking how, I mean, like you said, there's so much done with so little. Like, the sound design in this game, I don't know how this game can get sound design so right, and so many other games like get it so wrong. Like, there's even ambient sounds in there where you'll be walking, like in one of the mountain desert levels, you'll walk from the ship to the base, and a rock will fall. It's just a rock falling down the side of a mountain, and it's so well sound designed that it makes you paranoid. And then,
and there's something to be said for like you hearing all the way off in the distance when you're inside something, because inside a building is inherently echoey. So just hearing like that click of a turret and then the rat-a-tat-tat as someone goes, wow!
Yeah, the whom as the laser sights come on. Yeah.
And then like their voice fades away as they die, and you're like, oh no. Or someone just screaming, and then the scream stops, and it's like, oh, that's something's over there. I don't know where, but I gotta go.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised. Like, I was one of the maps we were playing last night. I went in the fire exit. Everybody else was coming in the main entrance, and like we came on a doorway at the same time. I think Ash was on one side of the door, I was on the other, and then I opened the door. I was like, "Hello!" And then I heard "wow" of the turret directly behind me that I hadn't seen click to life and start to aim at me. And it was just the instinctual hearing that noise just made me turn sharp left and run.
Yep.
And then the turret was just looking straight through the door at Ash instead and started shooting towards Ash. At which point my response, we were talking through like the wall, being like, you might want to close that door just for your own safety, you know, just for everybody else's safety. And I think you eventually came up and closed it, Boston.
I think so, yeah.
Where it was one of those things, was like I just heard the noise and moved because it was just
this fight or flight response.
It's just one of those things as well. Like you'll hear it and then you'll hear silence and then it'll be like, I'm okay. It's like, oh,
anyone's still alive?
Like,
Yeah,
it's so good.
it's really good. You should really go play Lethal Company. It's great.
Especially if you have like a group of people you can play it with. Like, it's 100% worth your time. It's not a resource killer. You don't need to worry about mods.
No.
Like, it's pretty chill.
Yeah.
Well, it's not chill, but it's fun.
It's as chill as a horror game can be, which is pretty impressive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you can, always try and go in as blind as possible, because there's something just so much fun about discovering all the horrors for yourself.
Yeah, half of the fun is going to be, oh god, what is that thing? Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I've been playing that I'm going to talk about this week at least.
All right, Nimp, what have you been playing the last couple of weeks?
All right, well, I am going to step back into Liza P, because I didn't want to say anything while Moon was still figuring everything out, but I have beaten the game now.
Oh, nice.
Huzzah.
Last time I talked about it, I'd hit roughly the middle point of the game. But yeah, the last 2 weeks, it's just been Liza P. That's it for me.
Oh, nice.
I will say that once you hit the green swamp monster, that's when the bosses start getting real crappy, I guess. Real kind of gimmicky.
Starts here.
Yeah. Which it's not horrific, but like there's certain things that I always get annoyed with where it's like physics in the game. If you're fighting a big enemy, they're supposed to be slower. That's just the way it is because they have so much more mass. But there are, very specifically in my mind right now, 2 huge enemies that will just roll over the arena that you're in, no problem. And you're the one that can't move fast enough, even though you're smaller. There's another boss where you have to attack a certain thing to be able to finally actually do decent damage to it. So, you get those that kind of come in. They're not unheard of in a Souls game, but they just kind of become a pain after a while. At the end, too, you have a final boss, and then you have the final boss.
Gotcha.
And the nice thing about that is, depending on what story you've been going for, you don't necessarily have to fight the final boss. And even if you choose to go after that one, you are at any point in time eligible to just be like, no, I'm going to take this other path and just get this other ending so I can get done. I did fight the final boss, and that took a really, really, really long time of learning its movesets, because it gets to a point where it wants you to be really good at blocking and dodging, like on levels of Sekiro and Bloodborne, but the system isn't that great at it. It's not to say that the system's bad or anything, but it's just the level that it wants you to play at that point in the game. It's like, no, man, where is this coming from, kind of thing.
Right.
You also start running into the issue of that particular enemy does massive like degradation damage to your weapon while blocking. So if you're not hitting perfect blocks every time it hits you, you're watching your little meter go down on your weapon, and that thing is hurling stuff at you so fast and so hard that it's hard to get a perfect on anything, and it's hard to dodge out of the way of everything that it's throwing at you. So, Moon, you got that to look forward to. It's not a hard boss. Well, I'll take that back. It starts out being a hard boss, but it is one of those things where it's like once you've done it a couple of times, you do start to kind of get the rhythm behind it a little bit. But the saving grace is going to be that throwing weapons are massively overpowered in this game.
Oh, nice.
Especially if the boss has a weakness. And if you start throwing that weakness at them, you are just watching the health melt away on these bosses. Wow. Almost to the point that it's not even worth actually fighting them the correct way. It's almost way better to just throw stuff at it and watch it die.
Oh, wow.
But it's give or take. I did do that for certain bosses. There were a couple of bosses I'm like, this is garbage. I'm not going to keep hammering my head against this. I'm just going to cheese it. And even trying to cheese it, you still have to put in the effort for it. But it's whatever. It's fine. It was a fun game to play. The boss weapons I kind of dislike because you see these bosses come in with like these huge, awesome looking weapons, and then you get your version of that weapon and it doesn't look anything like it.
Right. It's like, here's my new weapon.
Yeah, I will also tell you, Moon, that if you do decide to keep going with it, if I remember correctly, it's the advanced, the elemental weapons and stuff like that. There is not a boss advanced weapon at all in this game right now. So if you do, it's not saying it makes it easier or harder, but just know that there's not a boss weapon for that. So, which is unfortunate. But they do look cool, and they play pretty decently. So they're always kind of fun to tool around with. But I beat the whole game with my starting weapon that I had. The only thing I did was I just changed the handle from the Greatsword of, I think it's called the Greatsword of Faith. I changed it to the police baton handle, which it shortened up my range, but it gave me the additional ability to add on like a perfect block if I used it. I will also say that even though there are a bunch of weapons in this game, I didn't feel like you could... like, it felt kind of limited with being able to switch out the blade and the handles, just because there didn't always feel like a real big difference between what you were switching in and out with. You were basically just doing it as you found a specific weapon skill that you liked and you wanted to keep using it, so then you just transferred it to like the next weapon or whatever that you also then found that you liked using.
Oh, sure.
So that's fine, but I kind of wish that they had more weapons and stuff for you to mess with, and that it did kind of do a little bit more. But yeah, other than that, I had a lot of fun. There was a lot of swearing. My son watched me fight a handful of bosses, and there were definitely times where I was just like, F this game, I need to take a break. And then like a half hour later, I'm back at it again.
That's right.
You know? So it's difficult. I would say that it's fair. It's almost fairly difficult, like fair in its difficulty.
Yeah.
There are definitely bosses where it's like, you guys did not, like, this isn't great.
This needed one more pass to make it pretty fair.
But at the end of the day, and looking back at it now, I had way more enjoyment than I did hating it. But it is definitely a love-hate relationship with this game. There is also some extra stuff to watch after the credits, because that's a cool new thing that we're doing now with everything.
Right.
So I'm not going to say anymore. I want Moon to beat it, and I want to see what he thinks about it.
Right.
But I really enjoyed the game, and I'm looking forward to them either releasing more DLC for it or even a new game. They do have New Game Plus. I did start it. I am back in the hotel. And then I had to stop myself from playing it more,
right?
Because it's just the whole thing. And listening to the music in that game, man,
so good.
I loved. Apparently, I was talking with Boston about this over the break a little bit. I did find out that apparently some of the music came from a game that company made earlier called DJ Mix or something like that.
Oh wow.
So they're not 100% Lies of P music,
sure,
but it is music that they had. But yeah, it fits in really well. I loved just being in there, messing with my inventory, and then listening to that stuff in the background while it was playing. My favorite track is Feel. So, yeah. Next game, this is going to be stupid short. I did install Dead Space, and I did start in Impossible mode. Don't even bother pulling up a video, because it's not going to take that long. I did start it on Impossible mode. I got to the first save point, and that's where I'm at. 2 weeks later, that's still where I'm at.
Getting your feet wet.
Yeah. So I did play this game originally on the 360. I did get all 1,000 achievements in that. Back then, this game, just thinking about playing it, put such a sense of dread in me that I never fully enjoyed playing it, and I am getting that all over again, just thinking about this game. And that's part of the reason why I haven't played a whole lot of it. This is like one of those few games where it's like I get a physical reaction just thinking about this stupid game.
Yep. It's so good though. Like,
it is, and it looks really, really nice. And that's part of what makes it worse.
Your feet wet, you neglected to mention that it was blood.
That's right.
Yes,
that's right.
All of it. So, my next game that I played is Pharaoh and I did play Remnant from the Ashes. We did not play over the holiday week or the holiday break because one of us would have something go on, and then the other one would have something go on the following week. So we finally played this past week, and we have finally beaten the entry boss.
Nice.
This took some doing. Every time we would fight it, we would get a little further in the fight, but it always seemed like we would get right at the halfway point of its health. All of a sudden, it would start doing, like, it would drop in a bunch of ads. It would start doing, like, a bunch of different things. And that was usually around the time one of us would go down, and then we'd both be dead. It also didn't help that anytime it would drop, like, those boomers everywhere, and you would blow them up, and they'd leave fog. So then you would get rot. And rot makes it so that you cough, which interrupts anything you're currently doing.
It sucks so much.
Including reviving, reloading, shooting, dodging, just generally trying to get out of a hitbox, you know?
Yeah. Oh, it's so rough.
After a couple of times, I was like, all right, how about you just focus on attacking the boss? I will just focus on the ads. And we also opened up the game publicly just to see if somebody random would jump in. Because if we had a third body, that would help too, because it's one more person that's being targeted outside of us too. We ended up not needing the third person because we, as Pharaoh was attacking them, they took out the thing's legs. Right at the halfway point of its health. So because they damaged the boss in this way, it completely changes how the boss reacts for attacking us. Instead of it running around dropping tons of ads, it is now crawling around the ground just trying to attack us. It's slower. There are some ads, but we're not getting like massive groups of ads. So all of a sudden it became way more manageable for just us two to take it out. Now, by way more manageable, I am talking that Pharaoh got rushed when it was down to a quarter health and they were out of ammo. I was getting close to being out of ammo and we had no more heals, and we managed to take it out before we both died.
Oh, nice.
So it worked out.
Yeah.
That's why I love these games. But it's actually kind of pretty reminiscent of the first boss of don't try to revive me, just kill it. Just kill it.
Right.
You know? So taking it out in the manner that we did, it gave us a boss weapon. We now have, I forget what the weapon's actually called, but it's a massive hammer. It's basically, we took the ant legs and at its kneecaps, we made hammers.
Nice.
So now we're running around with that. Now we're in the desert area, which if you're watching the video of the show, that's the exact area we're in right now. I was trying to explain to Pharaoh that, hey, we're going to come into like this little village area, and don't just go running in there. There are tons of things in here, and they're not necessarily hiding, but they are not in plain sight. And depending on what one catches you will depend on if you're just fighting that one or if you're fighting this whole section of the village.
Yeah, I remember that happening a lot to us.
Yes. It was around this time that a third person did randomly just hop in. So we ran back to the crystal, let them come in, which my favorite animation for this is when somebody joins your game when it's active, you go running back to the crystal and you both have to touch it. And then the new person just gets flung out of the crystal head first into the ground.
It's really good. It just like, it throws them out of the crystal in such an aggressive way. It's so good.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that and just started laughing. So I was like, oh yeah, that stupid thing.
Yeah.
But this one, as you can see again in the video, there is a guy running around with basically like this tusked skull on his head, and he's got like these giant blades on his arms, like bone blades. And that's basically a berserker. And you find one of them, they are manageable. You find two of them, it's kind of difficult. When you have three of them in a whole village chasing you, that's when we run away.
Yeah.
because you'll have people like throwing spears and stuff, and some of the spears will sometimes have bombs on them. So if they impale you, you're running around with a bomb on you now.
Mm-hmm.
So you're taking the damage from being impaled and that thing exploding. And if you happen to be around the rest of your party, they're also taking splash damage from that.
Mm-hmm.
So a whole lot of, hey, take it slow, and then I hear like a bell activate. I'm like, which one of you just alerted like everybody now?
What just happened?
Yeah, and then you just see everyone running away.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, I guess this is our new thing. So we slowly cleared out a part of the village, and then we got to a point where we get the puzzle, the pressure plates, in front of a tower in the middle of this village. And I remembered there being a specific way of clearing this. I had to pull it up online because I don't remember how you actually find in game the thing. But I was just telling Pharaoh, it's like, hey, just hang on a second, let me look it up and see if it's the same across, no matter what playthrough you're doing.
The same solution, yeah.
Yeah, or if there's like a whole list of them that I have to go through because it picks 1 out of 20 or something like that, So luckily there is just one that it constantly uses.
Oh, nice.
And you have to start on the center square, which then activates all the pressure panels, and then you're supposed to walk a certain path on the pressure panels. The third guy kept deciding that, I'm just going to walk on these pressure panels while I'm trying to do this. And what happens is, when you get it wrong, it summons an enemy. If you continue to step on pressure panels, it continues to summon new enemies.
Oh, no.
As we found out, because we went from fighting one thing that it summoned to all of a sudden there's like 10 things that just showed up.
Jeez.
And we got wiped, which luckily there's a crystal right there. So we just got spawned right back in that same location with everything reset.
Right.
But I tried doing that puzzle, I think like 2 or 3 times. And then finally Pharaoh was like, we're just going to kick them. Like, this is just wasting our time at this point.
Yep.
So I did finally get through the whole thing. That opens up that center panel, and you drop down, and all this gives you is the option to be able to buy a new set of armor, which looks really cool. So I was able to buy the headpiece, the torso piece, and I had to come back for the boots. Pharaoh bought the boots and the torso piece and had to come back for the headpiece.
There you go.
So I was like, all right, cool. We got the rest of this village to figure out. Let's go through here and we'll grab items and stuff like that. And we did eventually clear out the rest of it, came back, got what we needed. And now we are at a point where there is a main tower that we have to go through. It looks like we have to deactivate 2 different things in 2 very separate locations. So we went into one location, which scanned us. And as you go through this area, you are constantly being dealt damage. And there's also a bunch of enemies in here. And we believe, if I'm remembering correctly, that we just need to run through it to get through the decontamination area, and then it resets everything for us, and then we'll be good to go.
Right.
But my memory's a bit fuzzy on if, 1, that is what we're supposed to be doing, and 2, where it all is in there. So, just taking our time having fun, but I'm still really enjoying the game. Pharaoh seems to be having fun with it. A lot of OS moments, but a lot of it of our own making, not necessarily the game's making. So it's been a fun turn a corner, and all of a sudden we're just unloading on one thing, and then we turn around and, oh, hey, there's a new thing right next to us that we have to unload on now. So fun game. Remnant from the Ashes. Check it out. Next game, this one is also super quick. Forza Horizon 5. I finally got my achievement for all the barn finds.
Nice.
This took forever. People know that this took forever because I posted during the holidays a video on Discord of me trying to get a stupid XP sign and World Physics just deciding, nope, even though my car obviously crashed through it.
Right.
But I had this one jump down to a science of my car has to be going somewhere between 110 miles an hour and 115 miles an hour at the ramp for me to hit that sign dead on. And the first time I did it, I was like, yep, that's it. And that's when everyone could see on Discord that the game was like, nope.
Falling through the world. Bye.
Yep. So that was fun. It took me, I think, like 5 more attempts to finally get it right. and then I was able to get that sign. And then around that time, that achievement finally popped because that stupid car was ready.
Nice.
But yeah, that's still a fun game. My last game that I'm going to talk about this week, because for Christmas my family got me the Metal Gear Solid collection.
Oh, nice.
Which I will be playing at some point, but not right now. And I will tell you, even though I know you said it when you started playing it, Boston, I was not paying attention or something, because when I saw that the first MGS game that they have in there is like the PS1 basically port, where it's the old pixelated graphics, I was super excited.
It's pretty impressive. They just put the PS1 version on there. Like, they didn't try to gussy it up, which is great.
Which I love the Twin Snakes version too, but I spent a lot of time as a kid playing that PS1 version, and that just, it holds a very special spot in my heart, and I was super excited to see that. So it's installed. I'm just not playing it right now. The game that I will talk about a little bit is One Piece Odyssey. Was another game that my family got me for Christmas. I am not a fan of One Piece. That's not to say that I dislike it. It's just I never really watched it. So I was telling Boston and Moon pre-show that I did start watching the anime. And it's because of this game, because this game is pretty blue sky and just chill. The whole point... I can't tell you where this could possibly fall in the timeline. I'm only up to episode 66, and I can tell you right now, it's not within those first 66 episodes. But basically what has happened is the crew has found themselves at a mysterious island. This lady touches you, and basically all of your past experiences and certain memories tied to skills that you have disappear. Basically what she has done is she has removed your skills from you. And in the process of removing those skills, she has removed the memories for how you've obtained that skill. So she's basically blocking you. It's not that you just don't have the skill. It's that you also don't remember how to use the skill. So it starts you off with like everyone's level 40, and then this happens, and then it drops you down to level 1, and then the game kind of starts. So it's like that whole thing of, hey, this is what you're going to build up to, but this is where you're at now. Yes, your abilities. Because the ship threw me off, because they're on, I think that's like the second version of the ship, if that helps anybody. They've got Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Usopp, Nami, Chopper, Robin, Frankie, and a dead guy. So if that helps anyone who knows what One Piece is,
as an outsider, I love One Piece.
So, as you are playing this, the enemies are all out so that you just run into them. There's no attacking them or anything. It's either you run into the back and you do a back attack, or you run into a front and you just have a normal encounter.
Oh, okay.
It then goes into the battle screen, which is kind of separated. It's not in the game physically lined out this way, but if you think of it as like a 4-square box, within each of those additional 4 squares, you have enemies in those, and depending on how you choose to set up where your characters go, you'll have either a group of characters or one character in a box, and there could either be enemies in there with them, or there could be enemies in like a different section of this box that you can move to. It's kind of weird to explain, but basically, if you are in a section that has enemies, those characters that are in that section with the enemies can only attack those enemies unless they have a ranged attack. Then they can attack anybody.
Gotcha.
If you have a group of people that are in their own quadrant that didn't have enemies, they can then move into whatever other areas that you need them to move into, kind of thing.
Interesting.
And it there are once you get used to the system, at first it's kind of like, okay, I don't really understand how they have everybody, kind of parsed out. But then as you start to play with it a little bit more, and as you start to notice the different icons, you're like, oh, okay, this group of enemies is over here by themselves. No one else, none of my team is in there, so I can either leave them alone or I can attack them and move a character into that square. Or Chopper's over here getting his butt handed to him, and he's my only healer, so let's go over there and help Chopper for a little bit so that way he doesn't die. Yeah, it's pretty much just at this point that I'm at now. Everyone's playing nice with this new lady that has basically removed their skills, because her whole thing is just she doesn't like pirates. They're a bunch of a-holes, blah blah blah. Which, so far, yes, they are.
Fair.
Yeah. But you have hit a point where they find when she removes the skills, they basically leave your body as like these little cubes with these designs on them.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently Luffy's first big thing is, oh, can you eat these? No, you cannot. However, you learn that, okay, those are your skills. So if you find one, you know, you can, your body basically absorbs it, and then you regain the memory of how you've earned or built up this skill. So now you can start using that skill in battles again.
Gotcha.
I am at the point in the story where they find a giant cube. Like, I'm talking like the size of a house. And they basically have Luffy under it, and someone is jumping on top of it trying to shove it down Luffy's throat. He's like, I can't eat this one. Like, what do we do with this? It turns out that for the bigger ones, it basically turns into, okay, we are all going into your memories of what happened in the past. And so now I am in like this desert area. I don't remember the name of the town. I should have written it down. But you basically have to relive like this event that happened in the past.
Interesting.
But it's not going to play out exactly as it did as you remember it, because memories are a fickle thing. So certain things aren't going to play out the exact same way as what you remember them being, or they may have changed because somebody else in the party remembers it happening a different way. So obviously I'm not that far into the anime, so I don't know, you know, how one-to-one it's going to be or how different it's going to be. But so far, I mean, it's a pretty interesting premise of, okay, yeah, you're reliving these. This game, the story of this game doesn't seem to just fit into, hey, this, you know, from this point to this episode, this is when this takes place. It kind of feels like a stopgap of this could take place anytime in this, you know, general season area
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's been really that's the only thing I can say about it. It's been a really laid back, blue sky, chill experience that I'm enjoying. I have stopped playing it for right now because I do kind of want to get to the point in the anime where at least I am at in this new memory section that I'm in, but the desert town.
Oh, sure.
Because I do kind of want to compare and see, okay, how have they changed it from the anime or, you know, the source material or anything like that. And I'm just real interested in how everything has built up to this point in One Piece. I have not been disappointed so far in either regard for the anime or the game so far. So I'm looking forward to playing more of it. It also does this. The battle system does also have a auto battle mode.
Yes.
So you don't even have to really pay attention. It's pretty competent. I don't know if I would use it in a boss fight.
Right.
But for everything else, it's pretty competent. A lot of people have complained that this game is like super easy, and I will say that there are parts that do feel easier than than you would kind of expect. But there are definitely non-boss fights that I've had where it's like, this is taking a lot of time and thought for me to take out, you know, so I don't get wiped out. So maybe I'm just not grinding enough. That seems hard to believe, but But yeah, I am looking forward to playing more of this. It seems dumb and crazy, and it looks like it looks like Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest a little bit with the art designs too, and the enemies most definitely feel that way. So it's just been a fun all around game of just, okay, we're gonna go find Luffy food because he's hungry and he can't fight anymore until he's had something to eat.
Right.
And I have to go find, you know, a caterpillar leg for Sanji or something to make something for Luffy. And it's just this weird thing. Luffy's always complaining about how hungry he is. It's just, all right, man, I'm here for it. I'll get behind whatever's
happening
buddy. So, but yes, there are other games that I played. I'm not going to talk about those this week because those are going to get super in depth. One of them is Divinity Original Sin 2.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I have a whole other
there you
thing
go.
written out for this, so I'm not going to get into that this week.
Upcoming episode.
Yes, look forward to that. So that's all I've been playing for the last 3 weeks.
I forgot to go back to. So I've been using the software Moonlight for a really long time. I don't know how long, but I primarily use it on my Steam Link that's connected to my TV to remote play PC games to my TV in my living room. And it works really well. But I think it was early last year, late 2022 maybe, NVIDIA was like, hey, we're getting rid of the Game Stream, I think was the name of their technology. Basically, the thing that Moonlight hooked into to let you remote play games. I could keep using the Steam streaming stuff, but it didn't look as good and it wasn't as smooth as Moonlight. So someone came out with a piece of software called Sunshine that is the replacement for GameStream to run as the server on your computer. And I couldn't get it to work for a really long time. And I forgot to mention a couple of weeks ago, before our break, I managed to get it to work. And it seems like the primary problem I had was I was using DS for Windows. It's a controller emulator. So you can hook up, for me it's a DualSense, hook it up in your PC. You can say, oh, this is a DualShock 4, this is a 360 controller, this is a generic Xbox controller, whatever you want it to be. It seems like having that running was interfering with the controller emulator that Sunshine was using. So closing that out made Sunshine work perfectly. That works even better at higher bit rates and higher frame rates than GameStream did. So the kind of the combination of Moonlight and Sunshine has been really, really, really good. And I've been using it pretty consistently over the last, month or two, and it's been pretty rock solid, thankfully. And it works with Moonlight just like GameStream did. You just hook it up to your computer, your server, and then it works just fine. The benefit of Sunshine over GameStream is that Sunshine has a web interface, so you're always going to have to pair the two. So when Moonlight pops up and is like, hey, I'm happy to add a new computer, here's a 4-digit code you need to enter into your computer. You don't have to be at your computer anymore. You just fire up the web interface of Sunshine, pop that in, and then the two of them are paired. So it's really great. I highly recommend it if you're kind of in that position. I know you can run Moonlight on a whole ton of things. I know a lot of people are running it on the Steam Deck, and apparently runs really well over there. You can run on a Raspberry Pi if you want. It has a bunch of stuff you can run on there. So wanted to mention that again, that seems like it's in a pretty stable position. I bring that up because I've been playing my first game, which is Vampire Survivors, and I've been playing that on my Steam Link. Two kind of big things happened here in Vampire Survivors over the break. One is I unlocked adventures. Is that what they're called? Is adventures?
Yeah, the adventure mode or whatever.
Yeah, adventures. These are really interesting because they are mini campaigns. So the first one features Poe, because of course it does. You don't know who Poe is? He's the guy that has starts with garlic.
Poe's lies.
Yeah, Poe is. But what it is it's a pared down campaign that you start fresh with no unlocks, no upgrades, no currency, no anything. So you really are starting the entire thing back over at the beginning. So I'm in sort of a weird position because I started Vampire Survivors back over on... I started it on PC because I wanted to start the game back from the beginning. So doing all this stuff to then unlock adventure mode, which has me start the game back at the beginning, is sort of like not the position I want to be in at the moment. So it's not really the mode for me right now.
Which to say too, it doesn't restart all of your progress. It brings you into a different version of the game, and then it's a
self-contained little adventure.
So you're not losing any of your old progress or anything if you haven't kept up with what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a really cool idea, and I finished Poe's adventure. So I finished his campaign, I unlocked everything. It took me, I don't know, maybe a handful of runs. Like, it's really not that bad. You're going to level up a whole bunch of stuff. You're going to unlock a whole bunch of stuff. And then you're basically going to do like...
You don't get like the full thing either, like the full item list.
No, it's really pared down. There was only like a handful of characters, 5, 6, 7 maybe. You're going to do like a run as every character. That's about it. And then you're largely going to be done at that point. Once you finish the adventure, you do get a bunch of gold in your main save. I don't even know what to call it, but like outside of the adventure, you get a bunch of gold. So if you're still saving up to unlock stuff, if you're still looking to upgrade stuff or unlock characters, it's a nice way of doing that. And then as soon as you finish one of the adventures, you have the option of either continuing to play that adventure as it is or restarting that adventure back from the beginning. So if you kind of want to just keep starting the game from fresh, you have these little self-contained pockets of content, and you can sort of start from the beginning every time. So it's a cool idea. There are, I think, 4 of them right now. The first 3 are the it's like the base game, and then the first 2 DLCs are the first 3. The last one is the most recent DLC, which is the Among Us DLC, the Emergency Meeting DLC. Again, this is $2.50. So, really, really breaking the bank here. It has 1 map. It has, I think, almost 15 characters, and there are 10 new items along with 7 or 8 like secondary items. So like 10 weapons or so. The map is actually really interesting. So it is, it looks like a bunch of the Among Us maps, but it has a little twist where every so often it will have like an earthquake is going to come or something like that, like an event is happening, and you need to go to a spot on the map and push a button to stop it from, I'm assuming, ending your run. But you get more than enough time to sort of book it over there and hit the button. And once you do that, the map kind of continues to go on from there. So far, all of the weapons, I'm not going to talk about all of them, but so far all of them have been really good. I feel like that's been, first 2 pieces of DLC, it's like, yeah, this one's pretty good, but some of the other ones are like, they're fine. So far, all of these seem really good. There's one that I want to call out specifically that it's like a medical scanner thing.
Oh, the life scan?
Yeah, the life scan. And what it does is when it scans you, it heals you, and it shoots out like a couple of projectiles. They're pretty weak. But when you evolve it to however it gets evolved, minor spoilers here, but it every time it scans you, it upgrades one of the weapons that you have in your current run. And it only saves it for the current run, but from that point on, all of your weapons are getting supercharged faster and faster, but that also includes the scanner, so it starts scanning faster and faster, which keeps upgrading your items faster. So you start getting pretty ridiculously strong pretty quickly in a way that feels really, really good. So it's nice to see that they're kind of continuing to play around with weapons and evolution and stuff like that. But it's sort of tough to talk about these because it's sort of more Vampire Survivors. This one has a bunch of Among Us characters and weapons and items and stuff. But like
even to the point of unlocking like extra Among Us astronauts or whatever as weapons, not just playable characters. But
yeah, they are. They like there's like a 7 or so because they're like rainbow colored. They're just like they're the secondary items. So like one throws daggers at enemies, one heals you, one seems to buff you a little bit. And the nice part is all of them are available in the Among Us map. So if you're looking to evolve something for the first time to unlock a character or a weapon or something, they're all going to be there. So you just got to find your item and then start scooping some people up. So it's tough because it's really good, but it's more Vampire Survivors, which if you like Vampire Survivors, you should just go get it. Because it's $2.50 and there's a ton of content in there, and it seems great. And they have the 4th adventure is the Among Us DLC, which I haven't played because I'm playing the DLC as it goes right now. So
Vampire Survivor is just like the cheesecake problem, where it's like you have plain cheesecake and you're like, you know what, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then they give you strawberry cheesecake. You know what? That's also really good.
That's right.
And then they give you chocolate cheesecake. And you're like, hang on. This is even better.
That's right. Hang on. Still pretty good. It's interesting because I needed Vampire Survivors a lot over the break. My wife and kid got really sick. And I needed something that was kind of mindless, but also pausable. Like I could get up and go take care of somebody if something needed to happen, but I wanted to keep myself entertained. I want to keep myself busy. And it was funny because I was listening to Nextlander at some point, and Vinny over there had the best description of this game that I think I've heard, that is meditative. Like, you're not using your entire brain, you're entertained and you're enjoying it, but it's kind of this meditative experience. Like you're kind of enjoying yourself but not using 100% of your brain. I was like, I like that description of Vampire Survivors. It definitely does feel meditative more than anything else. So
even Spirit Hunters was the same way, except for the problem was that I kept zoning out while still playing good.
That's right. You have to like smack yourself. You're like, no, stay here. Yeah. So yeah, Vampire Survivors shockingly continues to be really great. Emergency Meeting is super good. If you like Vampire Survivors or you're still playing it, just buy that DLC. Like it's just more great DLC for $2.50. You really can't beat it. Next game here, Destiny 2. New exotic mission came out called Starcrossed. Yes.
Just before you jump into that, Boston,
yes.
I pretty much need to bounce.
Okay. I hope you feel well. Please go lay down. We will see you next week then. Bye.
Yep. Bye, everybody.
So the new exotic mission called Starcrossed is out. Hold on, I need to switch to that one. There we go. That way, oh no, that's the wrong name. I'll fix that here in a minute. So Starcrossed is the brand new exotic mission. I just got to change the live stream here while we're talking. Alexander the Nymph. There we go. Get the right name there. So this exotic mission awards another bow here, and it's a really interesting strand bow. So it's the most recent subclass that they came out with. It's this really neat. I don't use a lot of bows in general. They're really good and they're really strong, but I don't really click with too many of them in general.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, you kind of make a design on the ground with shots, and then it lays down a trap for enemies in that design. And if they trip any of those wires, they get suspended in the air with Strand.
Oh wow!
So it's a cool idea, and it's kind of a cool, different. Like, I like when exotic weapons come out in Destiny that do something different. It's not just like, hey, it's a bow and it's green. Yeah,
it hits harder. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's not as interesting. I kind of want these things of like, yeah, okay, yeah. Is there a fight here that I can put together that I can trap enemies in, or something like that?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool mission. It's kind of just long enough to feel good, and just long enough, but not too long enough where it's like, I never want to play that again. Every once in a while, they'll put out an exotic mission or a dungeon or something where you play it once and you're like, I don't care what the reward is for this. I'm never playing this again. Like, this is way too long or too hard or obnoxious or something. So it feels like it is right there in the middle of that sweet spot. As a consequence of that, after that was released, we had another couple of weeks. If anyone doesn't know, this is an exceedingly long Destiny season because it's going to go all the way up until the launch of the final shape in June, July, something like that. So we all thought that the seasonal storyline would kind of get extended all the way until that point. Nope, they just finished it this past week. They're like, yeah, we got a story. Y'all kind of know where it's going to go because of the ending of Lightfall, the previous expansion pack. So let's just kind of get there. Like, we're going into the Traveler, so let's keep moving. Cool. So it felt pretty good the way that we got to that point, because it's basically like the Witness, the bad guy, opened up this big triangle portal in the Traveler. They're in there. Nothing we can do can get us in there. So that's the big mystery of the last 9-10 months was how do we follow them in there so we can kind of finish the fight, for lack of a better term. And I feel like the way that they resolved that storyline felt pretty good. We're kind of closing the loop on a whole bunch of stuff. We got to do some Ahamkara stuff. These are like wish-granting dragons in the Destiny world that you don't see really that often. So felt pretty good to have a storyline with them involved. And I know a lot of people are disappointed in how the story finished, but Destiny is in a bad spot right now, so most people, myself included, kind of aren't going to be happy with anything they do, because Destiny is really struggling for a lot of reasons. So the developers are kind of in a bad spot in general, but I'm pretty happy with how it went. I think Bungie said they're coming out with something in like March or April, I think, which is going to be this kind of stopgap content. We had this back during the Bungie's 30th anniversary, where they put out this big kind of celebration pack that sort of bridged the gap when another expansion got delayed. So they're going to come out with something that they say might not be similar in size, but the same kind of idea in a couple of months. So
okay.
We'll see. I don't really play Destiny much anymore. I actually hadn't played for the last couple of weeks. So I kind of got the experience of, let's do the exotic mission and then do like 3 or 4 weeks worth of content all at once, which is not usually how I do it, but that was pretty okay too. That was an okay experience. So,
cool. Taking it in smaller chunks.
Yeah, like, and also kind of trying to, the idea that is like, I run a Destiny website, but if you're not enjoying the thing you're playing for fun, then why are you doing? Like, why are we doing? Why are we here? What are we doing? So really trying to take that to heart. It's about seeing like, look at this giant pile, this unending pile of games that I have. Why am I playing something that I'm not really enjoying and I don't really feel the FOMO for? Like, why am I not knocking out like 20 other games? Let's just do that instead. So,
yeah,
trying to do that. Next game here, I have 4 more games. Next game here, I finished Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name.
Nice.
No spoilers here. There's a lot of interesting stuff. So this game takes place in Sotenbori, like the other Yakuza game I was playing, Yakuza Kiwami 2. And the thing that these games do that I think is really interesting is that when you're in Sotenbori specifically, there seems to be a lot of people talking on the street, but it's not like a GTA game where it's just people like waltzing around talking all the time. There's always these speech bubbles popping up on the screen of what people are saying in conversations. So they didn't.
So you don't have to interact with everybody.
Yeah, but you're kind of getting like some flavor text out in the world, but they don't do that in Kamurocho, and they don't do that in the area that Yakuza Like a Dragon takes place in. It's only in Sotenbori, which I think is a really fun touch, because as soon as you start Yakuza 2, that stuff is there minute 1. And same with when you land in Sotenbori in Like a Dragon Gaiden, but none of it takes place in anywhere else. So I thought that was a pretty fun little touch. This game's kind of hard to talk about because this isn't the game you start with. So, like we've talked about before, you either start with Yakuza 0 and then see if you want to play the other games, or you start with Yakuza Like a Dragon and you start with kind of the brand new storyline, and then you let the game kind of fill in the previous game's storyline for you, which I think Like a Dragon does really well. My recommendation would still be Yakuza 0. If you want to play the other games, that's good too. They're all available on every platform, or like Xbox, PlayStation, and PC now. And most of them apparently run really well on Steam Deck. But at the very least, you 0 Yakuza Like a Dragon, and then probably this game, and then Infinite Wealth, which comes out here in a couple weeks. Because this game is very much... It's the events of the story are running alongside Yakuza Like a Dragon. And it's expecting you to have played that game, because it's very much like, here's a short 30-second cutscene. Remember when this happened? All right, we're going back to the story. It's like, oh, yeah, they did the... Okay, yeah, got it. And they're like, perfect, back on the same page. Let's keep moving. It's really not... It's not even giving you, like, the Cliff's Notes version of it. It's just like, remember when this guy did this thing? Let's keep going. It's like, oh, yeah, right. I typically don't like bringing this stuff up while I'm thinking about games and thinking about if a game is good or not, but I think it's particularly important for this game. This game's $50. So, like, unfortunately, 50 is the new 40 when it comes to budget games, which I am having a hard time with, because to me, instinctually, games are still $60. Obviously, they're not, because 70 is the new 60, but when I hear $50 for a budget game, I'm like, that's only like $10 less than a full price game. Like, what are we doing here? It's like, oh, right, no, it's not anymore. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
So normally I wouldn't really care, and if you love the Yakuza and the Like a Dragon games, you're probably not going to care either, because it's more of these games that you love, but it's 8 hours long. And that's only if you're just going full tilt, just the story stuff, sort of like right back-to-back story missions, which, if you like these games, you're probably not going to do, because this game has probably the most amount of side story and like side quest and minigame stuff in any of these games, which makes it hard to kind of talk about this game because it's a very short side story from the other games. But then on top of it is just a massive amount of mini games and side story and the really fun, goofy stuff that these games get into. So it's kind of hard where it's like, yeah, it's only a 6-8 hour game, but I spent about 40 hours playing it, getting the platinum because of all of this other really fun stuff. Like they have the slot car racing that they
I was
going to
say slot cars will do it too.
Yeah, that's back. They have the UFO catchers and the arcade games and the karaoke, and they have all the like shogi and koi koi and mahjong, and like all that stuff is around town like usual. But then on top of that, they have the Coliseum that you unlock probably about halfway through the game that has a whole bunch of gambling stuff and has like a fighting tournament thing with like 4 different options. I think it's like a 1-on-1 fight, 1-on-many fight, and then there's like a 10v10 fight where you're recruiting a bunch of people throughout the town, especially by doing side quest stuff, and raising them and making them stronger on your team to then go fight stronger and stronger enemies in like these 10v10 battles. So that stuff is super, super cool. And like that's the stuff I spent the most time on. Like the story is incredible, and we'll get to it in a minute, but just the amount of things that to do in this game, even though it's kind of this smaller budget game, is really, really cool, and it's really very impressive. One thing of note is the hostess clubs. So there have been hostess clubs in previous games. I'm doing some hostess club stuff in Kiwami 2 right now, where you're running a hostess club and you're like, it's very much like the 10v10 battles I was just talking about. You're recruiting these hostesses, you're raising them up, you're equipping them with fancier and fancier stuff and things like that. That's not the type of hostess club that's in this game. I saved a screenshot here from a Reddit thread that I read a couple weeks ago. It's on the Patient Gamers subreddit, and the title was, "Have there ever been times where you've been embarrassed to play a game in front of others?" And I was like, my knee-jerk reaction was like, yeah, man, Yakuza. And like the second response is, the absolute champion of this is the Yakuza series. When no one's around, you're beating up people and watching a crime thriller. As soon as someone walks in, you're doing the weirdest, most embarrassing stuff depicted in a video game. That's very much the hostess club stuff in here, because they've taken it to the next level where the hostesses you're interacting with are live action. So normally it's
nice.
fine if it's like polygonal ladies.
Oh.
But boy, having like a 4K fancy dressed up lady that's like looking directly into the camera and talking to you, and Kiryu is talking back to them, is pretty intense, man. And of course, to get the platinum, you have to befriend all 5 of them. So you're going on like multiple dates with these fancy dressed up ladies, and most of them are fine until you like max out their affection, and they're like, how about we go on a date outside of the club? And I'm like, oh no. And then there's like a very suggestive live action scene that they have filmed and put in this game, and I'm like, oh no. It reminded me a lot of Metal Gear Acid 2. Remember they had the like pretty ladies with the like 3D goggle things where it's just like, I'm playing with balloons. It's like, oh god, no.
Yeah, I remember trying to figure out. Yeah, because the second one you got those goggles, those cardboard goggles with the game
that you like slid over your PSP.
Yeah, and I remember trying to figure out, I was like, what are these for? And then you find out and you're like, yeah, okay. Yep.
And like, I'm not a prude or anything. Like, I'm not here to yuck anyone's yum. But like, there's something about me playing this on like my 4K 55-inch TV where this woman is like, ha ha ha, you're right, Kiryu. You're super cool. And I'm like, oh boy. okay, sure, cool, thanks.
That's how it was with Cyberpunk, where it's like,
Right.
I can't tell you where any of those strip clubs are ever at, but as
Right.
soon as my daughter goes to ask me a question, I'm standing right out in front of one.
That's right.
Like,
come on
great.
inside, big boy. And I'm like, no, shut up. So I think that was the only thing where I was like, sure, okay, cool. I really, really loved this game. I think on the polar opposite end of the things, the ending for this game is the hardest I have cried at any video game ever. Wow. I finished this game. I had a feeling it was going to tug at the heartstrings because, so Kiryu, this isn't really a spoiler. If you're super worried about the ending of Yakuza 6, skip forward a little bit. But basically, Kiryu at the end of Yakuza 6 just disappears. And he fakes his own death and he leaves because of story reasons. So at the beginning of this game is him kind of trying to rationalize with him being kind of a walking dead man of just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I can't be out in the world because I'm dead. So what am I going to do? He's like working for this kind of shadowy organization. And he has these glasses on and like nobody can tell it's Kiryu because he's wearing the glasses, which is so good. And the game kind of leans into it sometimes where it's like, if only you take those glasses off so I could tell who he is. And it's like, bro. He's like the only 60-year-old dude who's just like punching people's heads off. Like,
who's still walking the street and cleaning up after everyone?
Yeah, exactly. Like, who do you think this is? But he's really committed to the part of being this other character, Joryu, and being this kind of secret agent. So anytime anyone's like, you sure do remind me of, Kazuma Kiryu, the Dragon of Dojimon. He's like, I don't know who that is. That's not me. I mean, sounds pretty cool, but that's definitely not me. Don't worry about it.
It's like a pretty cool guy, but
yeah, if he was here, he'd say thanks, but he's not. Whatever. And like he's really committed to the part, so a bunch of people are like asking him 3 or 4 times. Be like, you're the Dragon of Dojima, right? Like, look at you. Like, come on. And he's like, nope. Not me, just a regular old dude. No, not. And then they're like, sure would be a shame if anything happened to that orphanage that Kiryu runs. And he's basically like, I will kill you and everything you've ever loved, and I will salt the earth. I mean, that's maybe what Kiryu would say if he was here, but like, don't threaten the orphans. His orphans, not mine. Those guys. So like, they're clearly pulling the heartstrings the entire game. So like when I was finishing up the game, it has an incredible final boss battle, which of course it does, because these games all do. Like everybody's ripping their shirts off like usual. Really, really great final boss battle. The villain of the game, I think, turned out to be way better than I was expecting, which was kind of they were trying to sell this other villain for a bunch of the game, and I'm like, and I don't know that guy. Like he kind of stinks. Like I'm not sure that Kiryu would really be too threatened by that guy. But the proper villain was really good, and then just like the emotional beating you get at the end of the game, I'm like ugly crying in my living room while my family's asleep. I'm just like, this game. And a large part of it is Kiryu's voice actor is incredible, and he does such an amazing voice acting job at the end of this game. There's like 2 or 3 lines that seem to already be famous because he delivers them so incredibly. And it's astounding how well he does, and it's astounding how well they sell that stuff. And then the very end of the game leads directly into the next game, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. There is a demo that unlocks for Infinite Wealth that once you beat the game, but it comes out in like 12 days or something, so I'm not gonna fire that up. I fired it up long enough to see how it looks. Looks incredible, and then noticed, because they're in Hawaii, the game doesn't drop money as yen anymore. It drops it in US dollars. And I was like, all right,
Cool.
that's enough for me. I'll just pick up the game. So I'm super excited for Infinite Wealth, and I'm really happy with how this game turned out. It's a cool, smaller experience. I think it filled in a lot of stuff that I had questions about in Yakuza Like a Dragon. But if you don't play it, it doesn't feel like the first Like a Dragon game was empty. Like you it's not that like you missed a bunch of stuff. It was just Kiryu's story at the same time. So it was cool. I liked it a whole lot, and so far it's the only Yakuza game I've platinumed, I believe. I think largely because it felt like all that stuff was really achievable, and I didn't have to play any Mahjong, which was great.
So you have about 80 hours into it to
Yeah.
get anywhere near that.
Yeah. Next game, a real short one here, Remnant 2. We finally got a chance to play that now with like everybody's schedules kind of realigning. Bill Sifford has been basically taking the Hannah and I through. He has essentially destroyed this game. He's been playing a bunch of it solo, I think over on the PS5, and has been basically taking us through like all the super secret content of like, hey, remember that thing we picked up that we couldn't figure out how to do it? If we go through this like complicated backwoods way in this one map, here's this cool other subclass, or here's a cool armor set, or a really ridiculous weapon, or something like that. So we did a bunch of that. And then we fought the sort of infamous cube boss, which I really don't want to spoil in case anyone has not seen it, but probably one of the most ridiculous and stressful and satisfying boss fights I've fought in a really long time. It just wildly creative and really, really, really great. So again, Remnant 1 and 2, both really great, especially if you can play with at least one, if not two other people.
Yeah.
These are really like, these are, I'm sure, okay solo games, but if you can play them with a dedicated crew, that's where I think they really shine.
Because the first one I had a lot of fun playing solo, because if I ever ran into an issue, I would just turn my game to public, and then a couple other people would jump in, like randos, and then they would just help me out, and I could kick them at any point in time.
Right.
And I really, really want to play the second game solo for a bit.
Yeah.
Because it just, every time I hear somebody talk about it, it's like, man, that just sounds really good.
Yep. And it's like, it's basically the first game, just more of it and done a little bit better. So like that's kind of all you want out of a sequel to Remnant.
Do you still have your traits? Little trait cards?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And you're still unlocking them by doing stuff.
I was gonna say, I still love just randomly, even playing with Feyre in the first one again. There's a couple of them that I unlocked somehow, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot this was a trait.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I parkoured 100 times, and now I got a new one. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I ran for a while, so now I have World Traveler, which decreases the amount of stamina I use now.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's got that whole thing over again, which is so good. These games are really great. All right, two more games. First up, I started and finished Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Oh, nice.
This I realized that I hadn't played this yet, and if I wanted to play Spider-Man 2, I should probably just go through the couple of hours and play this, because I liked the first Spider-Man, so why not play Miles' story, because Miles is cool. And I had a pretty good time playing Miles Morales. I think I should have waited to start this until after I finished Yakuza, or Like a Dragon Gaiden, because their combat is both kind of similar enough to mess me up. But got into this once I was done with Like a Dragon Gaiden, and I think I forgot how much I like Miles as a character, and whoever does the voice acting for him in this game is really, really good. He really kind of gets the fun stuff about Spider-Man, and I think he leans into it in a really great way. Same with Genki and Finn, his two friends, and Rio, his mom. Like, all four of the kind of main characters are all really, really solid.
Especially since he's still trying to come into his own and getting used to the fact that he has these powers. So anytime he has to do something, there's a lot of self-doubt that the voice actor does a really good job of, portraying.
Really does. And like, there's even like at the beginning of the game, someone's drawing painting a mural of Spider-Man, and he's like, "Hey man, what about that other Spider-Man? You gonna paint him up there?" And everybody in town is basically like, "That's not Spider-Man. Like, this is Spider-Man, like Peter."
Yeah.
And he's like, "That's some other guy. Like, don't worry about that." So it's kind of funny that they're leaning into it the whole time of just like, I mean, two Spider-Men? Come on. That's crazy. I had to turn the difficulty all the way down on this because at the beginning of this game, I was really frustrated at how spongy everything was. Like, it gets way better at the end once you're kind of getting into the upgrade trees. But I felt like it happened way later than I wanted it to. So a lot of the beginning of this game was just like, okay, I did like a 4 or 5 move punch on this enemy. Oh, they're still up? Okay, let me do one more. Oh my god, they're still up. Okay, let me do... And it's like, that's not super fun. I still think the sneaking, kind of trying to trap people and like pull them up on perches and stuff, that stuff is still really great.
It still feels like Batman, which is still really good.
It really does. And like, with the added bonus of once you get some upgrades, you can see which enemies can see each other. So it's really easy to say, all right, this one is off by itself. Nobody can see him. I'm going to go over there and get that one, and then kind of like be able to methodically pick people off as you go. That felt really satisfying, as opposed to like, okay, I don't think anyone's around. Oh, no, all right, well, now I got to go fight because I didn't even notice that one dude. That felt a lot better. I think the addition of the Venom powers, his like orangey lightning stuff, felt like a little bit too much. Like, it felt like a little bit too much to keep in mind during the fights. Like, I mostly wanted to do like square, 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 triangle. Hey, that's a combo. As opposed to like holding L1 to modifiers to the face buttons and stuff like that. Like, it felt too like fiddly and claw handy for me. In a way that I never felt like I got punished by not using it, but every time Miles needed to like punch a generator to start it back up, and I was like, oh yeah, L1 and square. Yep, right, okay, right. I'm going to forget that again by the time I need to punch another generator. And it's kind of tough because like a Dragon Gaiden, it is a pretty short experience. It's just this kind of bridging story between Spider-Man 1 and 2. But I think I ended up liking it more than I felt going into it. Because at the beginning, I was sort of like, oh yeah, like it's fun to swing around, and I like exploring the kind of little part of the city I have here, but I don't know, man. The combat is kind of a drag. I don't know. Grumble. But I think by the time I got to the end, and by the time you got a lot of your upgrades, I felt pretty good about it. I liked where the story went. I kind of like how it leads into 2. I didn't really want to go for the platinum because I felt like I was kind of, by the time I was done with it, I was like, I feel like I'm kind of done with it at this point. Not in a bad way, but I think it ended strong enough that I'm like, all right, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the experience I had here. I think it's go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, with the story, I think the main overall branch was fine. Like, I don't think it was anything great, but I do like the detail of, as you progress, you do start to see like Harlem, like being way more accepting of the second Spider-Man,
right?
And then
that's
just
our Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. And then you kind of get to the end of the game, and then you do see him there, and everyone's happy to see him. Not that they're not happy to see the original,
right?
But you get that kind of feel where it's like, okay, no, we do have someone who cares about us specifically now.
Right.
So
yeah, because there's a really early on side story where Spider-Man the cat gets kidnapped, and Miles goes to save him, and the bodega owner is just like, you're not Spider-Man, like. Yeah. Okay, and you save Spider-Man the cat, and he like begrudgingly gives you a fist bump, and he's like, maybe you're okay, like you're not our Spider-Man, but okay.
It was more you just had to kind of earn the respect of the people in the community.
Exactly.
So
my next game is Spider-Man 2. Leading directly into that, big shout outs to Fayror from the community for gifting me this for Christmas. Appreciate it. This starts off pretty wild with like a city-spanning boss fight against Sandman at a pretty wildly huge scale, in a way that we usually don't see in these games. They also introduce you to the new traversal mechanic here at the beginning with the spider wings, which I wasn't expecting to really enjoy at the beginning because they're a little bit weird, but they do a smart thing where when you hit R3 to do your like spider vision thing, every once in a while you see these neon rings, and if you start flying through there, they're kind of like a wind tunnel, and it just super shoots you across the city, and that feels pretty good. Because early on in the game, you don't have fast travel unlocked. You have to start doing stuff in each district of the map to unlock fast travel for that district, which I gotta say, the PS5's SSD is ridiculously fast because you pick a specific spot on the map to fast travel, you hold triangle, and by the time the bar fills up, it immediately zooms in on into the world, and you're immediately playing. It's like maybe a second long. I don't... SSDs are wild, man. Like, it's so nice to see games that are specifically designed for them now to just be like, yeah, there's no load times, man. There's not even a load time when you fire up the game. Like, gone are the days of, GTA 3 where it's like, all right, we got a 4-minute load time to... Yeah, like...
It seems like first-party Sony games have been really good at taking advantage of the asset. Because, like, Ratchet & Clank was another good one.
Yep.
Of just, next thing you know, you're just in a completely different world without a load screen. Like, your load screen was you falling into the new world while you're controlling, not hitting things. So
it's so good. Yeah. I was happy that there's a 120 hertz mode here. So the performance mode has a toggle for 120 frames, just like God of War does. That has so far has been super, super stable because I believe it has VRR as well. So I haven't had any frame rate drops at all. So it's going to be between the like 90 to 120 frames, and then my TV just takes over the rest.
Cool.
So it's really interesting because I think I have almost all of the things that I can do on the map unlocked now. They kind of slowly unlock that stuff as you go through the game. I looked at the map earlier today. I think it says I'm about 55% of the way through the game, and I've been playing pretty constantly these last couple of days because it's a T game, so it's like friendly enough for my kid. The thing that they do that I think is really interesting is they're really distinctly trying to avoid the Ubisoft thing of like, here's your map and bleh, here's all these icons. As you're going through the game and you're unlocking stuff, when you unlock a new type of thing, they don't always show all of them on the map when you unlock the activity. Sometimes they'll show one, sometimes they won't show any, and you just have to run across them while you're out swinging and exploring. It has a fairly large radius, so you're not going to miss it because you weren't on this one specific city block. But it's definitely not one of those things where it's like, hey, you just unlocked this thing. Here's 30 icons for you to do. Which I appreciate because that makes it feel more manageable and more attainable, as opposed to the Ubisoft thing where it's like, I'm not even going to start these. There's like, you just gave me 100 icons. Why would I even start any of this? Like that's not even... So I've actually been doing a lot of that stuff as I've been crossing the city, because it's like, oh, well, I'm right next to essentially what is like a combat challenge. All right, I can... The par time is like 2.5 minutes. I got a couple minutes. I can try that out. You know, like, oh, here's a photo opportunity. I'll do that while I'm over here. Do a little puzzle. It feels really fun to do that stuff as you're going through, because the game presents it in a way that I think is really smart. And I appreciate that. And also an interesting thing, you remember from Spider-Man 1 and from Miles Morales, you do like in-game challenges that would get you XP, where it'd be like you
like the little coins or whatever.
No, it's more like you swung at top speed 30 times, so you did the like top speed 2 challenge. Yeah. They removed those for this one, which I thought was interesting, because they never seemed to get in the way, but they didn't seem entirely necessary either.
I don't think there was a trophy tied to any of those either. So.
No, I don't believe so. It always seemed sort of like, oh, here's a little bit of free XP, but
yeah,
I think you're kind of... Most of the time you finish a main story mission, you get like at least 1 or 2 levels anyway, so it seems like one of those things that's kind of maybe not necessary at all.
Did they keep the air trick in? Where it's like you hold down circle or whatever and then hit on
Yep, you can do a bunch of those.
That was always like the weird Tony Hawk guard.
Yeah, and like it's kind of funny because it still gives XP, so it's like you did like 3 combos in one, you got 8 points of experience. I was like, okay. I guess. Yeah. Thanks. The thing here, though, in this game that is kind of the big thing is that you're constantly switching between Miles and Peter. And you can do the majority of the stuff in the game as either person, like as you're going through and just doing like side activities or going through the world. You can do whatever you want as either character. There are some activities that like some science activities for this one organization that only Peter can do. There are some activities like for Harlem that only Miles can do, or like for his mom that only he can do. And they brought back the FSNM app or whatever it's called from the last game, where you swipe left on the touchpad and the phone comes up.
Report crimes and stuff like that. And...
Yeah, there's a lot less people reporting stuff, which I think is kind of a bummer, because I liked that in Miles Morales, where someone's like, hey man, I got locked out of my apartment, can Spider-Man help? And then you have like an infiltration mission. But that's how you switch between the 2 Spider-Men, is you open that up and you hit square, and in almost like a GTA 5 way, it zooms out and then immediately zooms back into another part of the city where Spider-Man is just doing something. Sometimes he's just like drinking a coffee on like in the park, or he's taking pictures, or he's like swinging on top of a building or flying around or something. So that has been pretty fun. And they do a smart thing where if one Spider-Man can't do something that the other one can, they'll be like, oh, I need Pete to do this one for me. While you're there, it just says, press square to switch to the other Spider-Man. You do it, the other Spider-Man comes flying in. It's like, hey, thanks, Miles, appreciate it. Like, immediately. And you don't have to mess with any of that. It feels really smartly designed, where it's not wasting your time about any of that stuff. And I really appreciate that. I think so far the bummer for me, I think I'm probably about 2/3 of the way through with the story stuff. I wanted to save the story stuff here for the end. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'm kind of talk around story stuff that they've already shown in the trailers. So I'm if you're super sensitive to spoilers, just kind of use the chapter markers to skip forward. I think having Kraven be the bad guy in this game is kind of a super bummer. I don't think he's really that exciting, because it largely turns into him just being a hunter of villains, and I don't really care. Like, his stuff is done really well, and like his voice actor is actually pretty solid, but I don't care about that stuff nearly as much as I do with the B plot is, which is Venom. And like, they are taking a really long time to get where they're gonna get, which I think everyone can see coming from like about 3 hours in.
I was gonna say the Kraven plot leads into the Venom plot, which then leads into
right. So like, I appreciate them spending a lot of time getting to the symbiote and getting to the black suit and getting you're kind of hitting all the marks that you want a Venom thing to hit. And I think it's kind of tugging on the heartstrings of the fallout of the events that happened at the very end of the first game, which I sort of forgot about. There's a previously on option that's in the main menu. It's actually in the pause menu too, which is nice. That recaps from Peter's perspective what happened in the first game, and then from Miles' perspective what happened in Miles Morales, and then kind of tying those two together and then leading right into 2. It was maybe 3 or 4 minutes long. Like, it's pretty quick, and I feel like it did a pretty good job of, like, I don't remember anything for Spider-Man 1 even after playing Miles Morales, so recapping that stuff was a lot of like, oh right, oh yeah, right, okay, yep, I remember that, yep, all right, okay, cool, I remember those guys. So that helped quite a bit. But I'm kind of torn because I want them to get where they're going, because I want to see how they're going to do a lot of this stuff, but I feel like they're trying to avoid the Spider-Man 3 movie thing, where all of a sudden he's like, yeah, I'm Peter and I'm mean. Yeah, and it's sort of like, that's hard to do with Peter, because he's always the most positive. Like, he's the most Spider-Man that you can get. So how do you sell him being angry and cruel and vindictive and like everything that he isn't naturally? So I think that's why this game kind of spends so much time doing that to get to that point. So I'm really curious to see how that stuff all pays off, because so far it's getting to a good spot, but Venom's execution is really tough off of the page, like we've seen in like a million other Spider-Man things. So we'll have to see how it pays off, but there have been a lot of cool stuff. There have been a lot of like big story missions where you're switching back and forth between the two Spider-Men. And I think that feels incredible every time, where it's like, as Peter, you're kind of doing a little bit of a fight, and then you're doing a big thing, and then you're tossing it over to Miles for him to do a bunch of other stuff, to toss it back over to Peter. Like, that stuff has consistently felt pretty cool.
Nice.
So far so good. I think the Kraven stuff kind of brings the game down for me occasionally, not in a way where I'm like, oh, I'm over this game, like I'm not going to play this anymore, but sort of like, there are more interesting stories that I think are being told. There's another plot with with Miles too that I'm not going to get into. But some of that stuff feels pretty good, and I just hit like an emotional like boss fight with him that I thought was done pretty well. But so far so good. I think is kind of the long and short of it is. I was excited to play this, especially after Miles Morales. I like having the two Spider-Men kind of working together, and I'm hoping that this game turns out well in the end, because so far it's kind of firing on all cylinders, and it's much, much longer than I was expecting it to be. Not in a bad way, but just sort of like, oh, I got a trophy after doing like 10 missions. Oh, I'm only at the third. Like, I'm only after the first of 3 acts. So, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool so far. So, I'm hoping I might wrap it up this week. I feel like I'm kind of at the point where I want to not do any of the side stuff anymore. And I just want to kind of finish up the main story stuff to get that done. And then see if I want to go through the rest and, do the platinum or do any of the other side story stuff or whatnot. Fill my time before Infinite Wealth comes out, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. That's all I'm playing. Let's take a break. Okay, good. You updated your name over here. Good. Let's scoot you around over here. It's always really hard to fit just one person on stream. There we go. That's good enough.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah. All right, let me fire up the trailers here, and then we'll be good to go. What time is it? 4:38.
Yep.
Okay.
7:38 my time.
Yeah.
Woo.
We shouldn't have too much longer because we just have a handful of...
No, this is why I was cutting back, because it's like I knew this could easily be like a 4-hour-long podcast.
100%. Like Feyre said, 5-star runtime.
Yep.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. Let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Let's talk releases for the week of January 15th, 2024. Last of Us Part 2 Remastered comes out on PS5. I'm kind of bummed. I don't like Last of Us because they have this roguelike mode in there that I think seems kind of neat that they're putting in this version, but I don't like these games. Yeah. So that's kind of a bummer. Art of Rally comes out on iOS this week for $5. If you haven't played this before, that's that kind of minimalist, stylish racing game that I like a whole bunch. That's on pretty much every platform.
Everything at this point now.
Yeah. I think it's even out on Android. I think this is like the last platform to come out on. I bet this plays pretty well on mobile devices. This is a really cool. We're talking about in the first segment about Vampire Survivors being a meditative game. This is very much the same, where you're like using just enough of your brain power to be kind of engaged in it, but you don't have to be 100% focused the entire time. So Art of Rally is really great, and there's way more content, way more races in that game than it seems like from on the surface. So go check that out. Next up, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown comes out PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series Console, Switch, and PC. It's the Prince of Persia Metroidvania that's coming out this week that I was really interested in, and then every review came out and was like, yo, this is one of the best Metroidvanias to come out in the last couple of years. And it's like, okay, cool, I guess I'm picking that up this week and finishing it before Infinite Wealth comes out. It is a budget title. Also, as we talked about at the beginning of this, that does mean it's $50, which is kind of still pretty pricey. But if you haven't seen the kind of interesting Metroidvania thing they have done to this game, the curse of these games is always like, all right, I have gone to the end of this pathway. There's obviously some green vines crawling up this wall that I can't climb. I bet I have to come back to it with some sort of upgrade. but I can't mark the map, so I guess I'll just forget about it until I wander back here 10 hours from now. Cool part about this game is, some Metroidvanias are like, oh, we'll put an icon on your map automatically, or we'll let you pin a note here or a push pin or something. The cool thing they've done with this game is you just take a screenshot and attach it to your map.
Oh,
so
cool.
As soon as you hover over that spot on the map, it just blows up a screenshot. It's like, this is what that area looks like. That's incredibly cool. That's a great idea. And that seems super neat. So I'm hopefully going to pick that up this week as soon as I can finish Spider-Man 2, kind of squeeze this in between the 50 games that are coming out between now and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at the end of next month. Heaven help us.
So now all they need to add is like an idiot bar or an idiot line for guiding. Because sometimes when you get further along, it's like you're staring at the map. And you're like, oh, I just go this way, and this way, and it'll take me here. And then you do that, and halfway you're like, oh, that's right, this section doesn't exist anymore.
Right,
and
I flooded that area.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they do. I feel like with the map picture stuff, maybe they'll have that in here too. So hopefully, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Next game, Turnip Boy Robs a Bank, comes out on Xbox One, Series Console, Switch, and PC. Turnip Boy is done doing his other crimes of tax evasion and has now decided to just rob a bank, and now he's a twin-stick shooter roguelike this time, which I kind of wasn't expecting them to change genres. So sort of surprising. If you have played or seen Nuclear Throne, you probably have a pretty good idea what this game looks like. So really interested to see how this turns out. I think it looks kind of cool, and I obviously like roguelikes, so curious to see how this turns out. But that's Turnip Boy Robs a Bank, which is it's a great title. I believe that's Game Pass day and date as well, if I remember.
From what I heard, yes.
Okay.
So I think you can pre-install it right now from Game Pass.
Oh, nice. Great. And last game here, another Code Recollection comes out for the Switch. This is the combination and remake of the Nintendo DS game Trace Memory and the Wii game that was a sequel that I don't remember the name of. But basically, they've taken both of those games, totally remade them, and then put out these two new versions together on Switch. These are those like adventure, kind of like almost Myst-like games where you're trying to...
Now you've got me.
Yeah, see, there you go. People seem to really like both of these, and I kind of missed both of them. I think Trace Memory came out a little bit too late in the DS's life cycle for me, and then the other game was on the Wii, so I didn't play it. But they both seem really cool in that kind of like modern point-and-click adventure game sort of standpoint that I really like and kind of click with. So that is another Code Recollection coming out this week. And that's all the news stories we have in this. Yep, definitely 5-star runtime. Yay! We don't have any news stories this week. We're gonna save the question here for next week because we've been here for a while and my voice is starting to go. So we'll save all of us. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. If you'd like to visit us, you can do so at tvgp.tv. Everywhere to find and follow us is on the right-hand side of the page, including a link to the Discord server. Please come join us. The best community on the internet is over there. It's a very chill server, very relaxed. We got a couple of channels here and there, nothing super big. Got the Not E3 2024 channel that just started. Thank you, Favor, for reminding me. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel as well. Anything we live stream, of course, goes over there, but anything that goes on the public feed, including Picking Up the Pixels, that all has video versions over there. So go like, comment, and subscribe. That stuff really does help. Also, go help us over at Patreon, patreon.com/E1M1.
The ones are numbers.
$5 a month. Fun for a $5. That's the recommended one over there. That gets you everything. Anything above and beyond that is greatly appreciated. Tell your rich friend to just start adding a bunch of zeros at the end of that. and help out the show a bunch. That helps pay for all the software we run. Just got another email from Adobe saying like, hey man, subscription's going up by another $5 a month. It's like,
Adobe,
I swear to God, bro. So that pays for that stuff, pays for all of our hosting. I now have to upgrade our hosting over here on the TVGP public feed because we're putting more stuff in there every month, like PUP and stuff like that. So all of that goes towards paying for all of that stuff. And your monetary support is greatly appreciated. If you can't support us financially, totally understand. The best way to support us otherwise is, like we talked about, like, comment, subscribing on YouTube. Go rate the show wherever you can rate the show. You know, try and do the highest rating you can. That stuff really helps for discovery. Be annoying, tell your friends, tell social media. All that stuff really does genuinely help, and helps more people find the show. And I think that's it. So we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, man. That's right, Pharaoh. Maximum stars.
Maximum effort.
That's right. All right. What titles do you have?
I have the Starfield Experience. I Told You I Wasn't Crazy. Quietly Calling Into the Darkness. That's me. That's my Bloodstain. The Cheesecake Problem. And Slot Cars Will Do That to You.
I had to write down, that's me. That's my Bloodstain. I have It's a Double Pun. It Looks Like Thunderbird 2. Saving Up for the Big Boy. The Starfield Experience. And That's Me. That's my Bloodstain.
I kind of like That's Me. That's my Bloodstain.
I do too. It's a little longer than usual, but I think that gets my vote. Also, you can sing it to the rhythm of Losing My Religion.
I was actually thinking that too.
All right, I circled that one. I think that's our winner.
Yeah.
I do like the Cheesecake Problem a lot too. That one is really good. That's
maybe on brand for our podcast.
Yeah, that's maybe my second winner.
Okay, I got something.
All right. Starting in 3, 2, 1. This is That Video Game Podcast, episode 847 for January 15th, 2024. That's me. That's my Bloodstain.
Don't follow me unless you want to be a puddle.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for hanging out with us, chatting, chilling, other things that start with CH, cheese.
We're still getting in the swing of things.
That's right.
Everyone's still recovering.
Yeah, we're back into it. I hope Moon feels better over this week. Hopefully he's laying down, getting some rest. And we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.